It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Daboll has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Daboll to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid, your theme for this third and final hour. Our reactions to the end of week 3 around the National Football League. Who is the best team in the NFL? 5 have started a perfect 3-0 at the end of week 3. We'll talk some college football in the game of the year already. A top 5 tilt in Tuscaloosa. Number 4, Alabama. Number 2, Georgia. Just saying the words, the hairs on my arm stick up. The goosebumps are there. It is going to be sensational. We'll talk about history that is set to be made on Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then, Joe, we turn our attention to Major League Baseball. Craig Mish, our MLB insider, the host of Newswire, joins us next, and then we will break down the entirety of this Tuesday slate. We've got games this week. We've got 6 games left for most teams around MLB. The second to last series for everybody starts today, fully underway. The playoff chase is here in the final full week of the MLB regular season. What a great final hour we have for everybody on the early line.
Yeah, and it's we're heading into end of September. October will be here before you know it, Ben. So legacies are made in Major League Baseball in the month of October. We're getting a pretty good handle here in college and the NFL. This is a great time of year for us.
It is a great time, and it's a great time to react to what we see each and every week with a now 3-week sample size in the National Football League. Who is the best team in the NFL? That was the question to all of you in Fade the Public. Now, only 2 teams were listed, and then we had other, and if you selected other, we asked for a reply. We listed the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 of the 3 best prices to win a Super Bowl, and San Francisco is that 3rd team. We're not feeling overly optimistic about the 49ers. Injury concerns aplenty for San Fran or other. But, Joe, the public going with Buffalo. More than 51% of the votes on the Buffalo Bills, well in front of the Chiefs, despite the fact that Kansas City is also 3-0 and well in front of Buffalo still in the odds markets. Which way did you vote?
Yeah, I got to say, through 3 games, I kind of agree. What we have seen from them has been pretty impressive. And I think they're doing it with some new pieces. And we mentioned it earlier, Ben. I'm more impressed with the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball. And did you notice also the expression on Josh Allen as he's playing in these games now? Does he seem uptight to you? Does he seem like, even before, he looks like he's in a really good spot, and I think that is fantastic news for the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Bill fans. So I agree. I think they are, right now, the best in the National Football League.
Depending what emphasis you want to play or pay on drama, or if there was actually drama and poor relationships between a couple of former Buffalo Bill wide receivers and Josh Allen, I'll let you do that. But there is no doubt, even with a cast and crew that on paper seems like it is a negative as compared to the last few years, it really has not been. Josh does seem happy. Khalil Shakir has stepped up. Dalton Kincaid, the best game of his season so far. James Cook continues to be consistent, both on the ground and as a receiver out of the backfield. At least 85 scrimmage yards in all 3 games for Buffalo. Keon Coleman finding pay dirt last night, the rookie wideout out of Florida State via Michigan State. It has been a good recipe this year for Buffalo. Joe, I voted for Buffalo. I wanted to vote for other, but I couldn't really think of anybody that really deserves the vote right now. Again, I was high on the Bengals entering this year. They have not been good. How about the Ravens? Entered the year with the 3rd best Super Bowl price? No. The Cowboys? Absolutely not. The San Francisco 49ers? Still the NFC favorites, ever so slightly, tied for that 2nd best price alongside Buffalo to win Super Bowl 59. I don't know how you could argue the Niners being one of the best teams so far in the NFL. Even if your outlook remains optimistic, I would not be. Injuries, a huge concern for San Francisco, not just week 4, 5, or 6, but really beyond that. Christian McCaffrey headed to Germany to get his Achilles tendonitis checked on. Now, we mentioned it. Those 2 teams that we listed, Buffalo and KC, 2 of the 5 teams, that have started unbeaten 3-0. The 3 others, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Joe, our guy, Mammoth Hops, a frequent replier and a frequent visitor of SportsGrid. We appreciate his time and patronage always. Did reply with Minnesota. We talked about Sam Darnold and his MVP candidacy. You've got the Vikings off to a surprising 3-0 start. The Steelers just keep winning football games as the underdog or covering as the favorite. They're 3-0. Seattle is 3-0. You could argue competition for the Seahawks, and I would hear it. Any of the other 3-0 teams, not named the Bills and the Chiefs, that you are buying stock into being there at the end of the road when all is said and done?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's been very, very impressive with what Minnesota and Sam Darnold have been able to accomplish here. I mean, there is no doubt that we need to take them a little more seriously, especially the way Flores has got them playing. But the simple fact that the New York Jets are on this list at 18-1, and Aaron Rodgers has clearly looked much better in that last game where he's moving better out of the pocket. The rust seems to have gone off. The weapons they have, the style they play. This is all about who do we trust to win games in the elements, Ben, in November and December. Do we trust Sam Darnold? I don't know that I'm going to. I would trust Aaron Rodgers in those spots before I would trust Sam Darnold.
And listen, best team through week 3 versus best team through 18 weeks and playoff consideration, different stories. But to Joe's point, it's why you can still find some value right now in those Super Bowl 59 odds, because you do not win a Lombardi trophy for being 3-0 through 3 weeks. Joe, as we look at those Super Bowl prices and as you scan the numbers on your screen, the Dallas Cowboys are the 9th best priced team to win a Super Bowl. I don't know how you would ever bet that number now or in the preseason, seeing as they have failed in 13 playoff appearances since 1995 to even get to the NFC Championship game. And the one thing Dallas has always been good for, Joe, even with the playoff struggles, great regular seasons. Each of the past 3 years, they have won 12 games. They have won 2 of the last 3 NFC East crowns. Dallas will get us started in week 4 on the road in MetLife against the New York Giants in a divisional duel. Both of these teams are 1-2. The Cowboys look lifeless offensively outside of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. There ain't a whole lot going. Defensively, they look like a shell of what they had been the past couple of years under Dan Quinn, now under the guidance of Mike Zimmer. And yet the Cowboys remain a 4.5-point favorite on the road in New York. The early look for Thursday Night Football, what's it telling you?
Well, it's telling me that the Cowboys have some serious issues, and the issues have more to do on the defensive side of the ball than anything else. I don't know what they thought they got on that side of the ball, but outside of a lot of finger pointing, no, that's never a good spot in 3 games here, and already we've got guys on both sides of the ball pointing fingers at their teammates. Ben, we all know how that ends, and it's not good. Yeah. It's usually with a coaching change at some point during the season.
Oh, boy, and Mike McCarthy not like he's under contract beyond this year. The Giants, Joe, since the start of last season, are 9-9-1 against the spread as an underdog. 19 of 20 games a dog. Just saying they're not all that bad covering numbers.
Nope.
MLB conversations next. It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind L.A., that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The last week of the Major League Baseball regular season fully begins on this Tuesday. A chock-full slate to break down for you here. All of the playoff races that you need to know, whether it's a playoff spot or postseason positioning, and those seed lines around both the AL and the NL. We do that with our MLB insider and the host of Newswire. It is Craig Mish joining us here on this Tuesday on the early line. Craig, as always, we appreciate the time.
Final week of the regular season in baseball. This is it. We're going to find out really who gets in and who is out in the end. We've got a couple of races, I know. A lot of celebrations going on this week, too, so we're looking forward to jumping in.
Yes, we certainly will. Craig, for one last time in this regular season, it begins the final week of the regular season in terms of touching them all. We'll still do it in the playoffs. It's now time, though, for the daily basis. All right, Craig Mish, not just the end of a season, but the end of a career for a longtime Colorado Rocky, Charlie Blackmon. Spent all 14 years of his Major League Baseball career up there at Coors Field. 4-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, and won the 2017 NL batting title. Maybe a name you don't know as well, but hopefully the long hair, the lechuga, and the beard that you recognize, who spent nearly a decade and a half in Colorado. Craig, how will you remember the career of Charlie Blackmon?
Yeah, a great player, playing at altitude for many years. It kind of takes me back to 10, 15 years ago playing fantasy baseball when you always wanted Rockies players, when the Rockies were, and by the way, they still are very competitive at home. Take a look at the Rockies' home record this year. It's like they have the worst record in the National League, not named the Marlins, and yet their home record's always pretty good. Always put on a show for the home crowd, as you mentioned, won a batting title. Certainly one of those players that will be on the Hall of Fame ballot, will get some consideration, but, naturally I think he does fall short of that. But I did see him play for many years in person and have nothing for respect for him. Retires at the age of 38, by the way. Probably had a couple of years left, not having a bad year either, but just decided that it is time.
And with the same team, so kudos to him, too, there, man. Start and finish your career with the same team. The pennant races are getting interesting here, Craig. They wanted, with the extra playoff spot, right, they wanted meaningful games in the last week of the regular season. Well, we got them in the American League because it looks nothing like it did a week ago here. What is your take on what we've got here so far?
It's going to be a fight to the finish. I think, Yankees and Astros battling record-wise. Cleveland's already in, of course. But I think most people realize who's going to be in the postseason with the exception of that final wild card spot. And let's just call it what it is at this point. The Twins and the Royals have both fallen apart in September to some degree, and the Tigers have taken the league by storm. They're calling up Jackson Jobe today. He's their top prospect. He won't be available for the postseason, but he'll pitch today for the Tigers. They try to push their way in. Hard to doubt the hot teams, Joe, the last couple of weeks of the Major League Baseball season. So I do think in the end, Detroit's got a great shot to get in. Kansas City, they had a really good season. I think they will sneak in. I think the pressure right now is on Minnesota because Minnesota, was in it from start to finish. They got 3 games coming up here against Miami. I mean, anything less than 2 of those 3 wins, I would say there's going to be some trouble in Minneapolis at the end of the season.
15 games, 72 and 57, above 500 was Minnesota on August 25th. Since that point, in the last 3+ weeks, 9 and 18 to now find themselves on the outside looking in, entering the final week of this MLB regular season. Of course, the expanded playoffs in Major League Baseball began in full in 2022. And Craig, the 2 pennant winners in the National League in the 2 playoffs we have seen have both been a wild card team, which makes the pennant odds a little bit interesting to look at. The Dodgers and the Phillies have been the 2 best teams in the NL and really MLB all of this year. And they are still the 2 favorites to win the National League pennant, plus 164 LA. Philly only 40 cents back. So I ask you the question this way. Will the National League pennant winner come from those 2 top teams, or will it be somebody on the outside once again?
It would be a guess. As you've said, Ben, the last couple of years, it has not gone the way that the teams that got the bye won. If you watch the Philly celebration last night after they won, Rob Thompson, the manager, said that we want the bye. We want the time off. And so show up tomorrow, be ready to win until we get that. So that tells you everything you need to know. At some point, I think the mold will be broken. It could be potentially this year. I still do like the Phillies here, and I think the Phillies have a great shot. I think the American League, to me, is a little bit more wide open than the National League. I do think that one of those, let's say, first 4 teams comes out of it. Maybe that does seem a little bit wild to me. But I do think an upset could be brewing in the AL. but hard for me to see the Phillies not in the NLCS at the very least. I think the Dodgers have fallen over themselves in the postseason, so I can't sit here and predict them. Right. But the Phillies, I think they'll be there in the end. Whether they get all the way, I'm not clear.
One of the hot teams here, the New York Mets down the stretch. Big series starting tonight against the Braves. Schwellenbach has been a lifesaver for him this year for the Braves with all those injuries to the starting rotation. Has he got another one in him here tonight?
I mean, he may, but do the Braves? I mean, their offense is just so hot and cold. I have no idea which Braves team to expect. I think that's something they're going to have to figure out in the offseason, how all of these players on the Braves, even with Acuna being out, some of them have slumped at different times. The one line that I would look at today that is interesting, because, again, tough game to win. It does seem like the Mets offense, to me, I noticed on FanDuel that number is 3.5 for their total runs scored. A little bit juice. I think it's minus 120 or minus 125. I don't know that the Mets are necessarily going to win because, again, it's the Braves. One game, 7 runs. One game, no runs. So not going to predict the winner. But I could see the Mets scoring 4 runs today. Schwellenbach's only going to go 5 innings, maybe gives up 2-3 runs. Braves bullpen is okay. Iglesias has been great. Rest of the pen can give up some runs. So I'll just play that today. Mets over 3.5 runs.
I like that look, Craig Mish. I really do. The New York Mets, 9 games below 500 at the end of May. A proud organization. Grimace came through, and from that point, 63-36. They have been one of the best, if not the best team in baseball in that span. The fact the Braves are even here in the final week is a testament to the resilience. They've won 4 of their last 5. Just might be a little bit too late against the New York Mets. Craig Mish, we appreciate the time. Thanks for being here. More of the early line continues next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. We will get to the final week of this MLB regular season and the actual game breakdowns that begin the penultimate second-to-last series of this regular year in MLB. Joe, those teams hoping to get to the playoffs, Day number 2 of WNBA playoff action on this Tuesday. A doubleheader of action in Las Vegas and in Brooklyn between the two teams that played in a WNBA championship set just a season ago. Let's start with the two-time reigning WNBA champs looking to become the first team since the Houston Comets won the first 4 WNBA crowns in its league history back in 1997 through 2000 to win 3 in a row. The Aces at home tonight on the Strip at the Michelob Ultra Arena against Seattle. Just a 7.5-point favorite against the Storm. Total at 158. Joe, Las Vegas won game number 1, 78-67. Covering as a 9.5-point home favorite. Total went under 161.5. We are seeing a 3.5-point drop-off from the pregame number on Sunday afternoon. Why did the total stay under? Seattle scored not 3, not 4, not 1, but 2 total points in the fourth quarter as the Aces pulled away for that 11-point victory. What do you think we see here in Game 2? By the way, best of 3 series in the opening round in the WNBA postseason. So this could be the series clincher for Vegas tonight.
Yeah, and I guess experience does matter, Ben, right? It's what we've been harping on for a while now, and not just in the WNBA. But didn't Seattle just blow their best shot at actually taking down the champs here? How in the world? They didn't have their starting center. They were held to 9 points in the first quarter. Asia Wilson missed her first, 7 of 8 shots. Kelsey Plum couldn't hit water if he shell out of a boat. They were out rebounding. They took a lead into the fourth quarter. And what happens, Ben? They lose by double digits. Why? Because the experience matters in the WNBA, and Vegas proved that. I think this is all but over at this point.
I would completely agree with you, Joe. I think Seattle had their best shot. I'm not sure why the line is working against Las Vegas. I'm trying to find one of my favorite player performance doubles of this year that they're not posting. It's really kind of rude. I wanted Asia Wilson to record a double-double and Las Vegas to win because Asia Wilson's only minus 290 to record a double-double. Unless my eyes are not seeing it, I do not see it posted yet on the FanDuel Sportsbook. She had a bad game by WNBA MVP standards, Asia Wilson, who has won 2 of those 3 trophies in the last 3 years. 21 points, 8 boards. It was really Tiffany Hayes off the bench for Las Vegas that was their scoring and offensive spark plug. She had 20 points. Vegas scored 9 in the opening quarter. Seattle only scored 2 in the fourth quarter, and we're seeing the total drop by 3.5. Joe, it's been an interesting year for Las Vegas, the 2-time reigning champs, the first team to win 2 in a row since the LA Sparks did so in 01 and 02. They were the heavy title favorites entering 2024. They had lost 3 straight, 4 of 5. They started 6-6, matching their overall loss total from a season ago when they were 34-6. They still ended the year winning 5 straight games in the regular season and 9 of their last 10. Las Vegas, with that championship pedigree, and the WNBA MVP and best player on planet Earth, Asia Wilson, rounding into that title form once again. But the favorites to win a WNBA title, that would be the New York Liberty, handling the Atlanta Dream on Sunday by 14 in the opener, even covering as a 13.5-point favorite. The Liberty led by 18 points at the break, and it was a little bit closer in the second half, but still a comfortable win for the Liberty. 12.5-point spread for tonight, 156.5 against Atlanta. I think the Liberty make it a sweep in only 2 games. Joe, what do you think for New York?
Yeah, and they did it right with a little bit of a new starting look there to the rotation, and it actually worked out pretty well here. There is no reason to doubt the Liberty at all. There hasn't been all season long. I don't see any reason. Again, experience matters. They have plenty of it. And they also have some amazing young players on this team. It just feels like they're going to steamroll their way to another championship possibility once again.
Joe, Leonie Phoebish was that new starter. She had a game-high 21 points for New York on Sunday. 4 for 4 from deep. And Brianna Stewart still 20 points and 11 boards. I would keep an eye on the total tonight in Brooklyn. You saw there, the Liberty, the title favorites at this moment. But the Aces, a compelling plus 280 price at this moment. Now we get you set for the game of the year in college football on Saturday night. Next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The game of the year in college football, week number 5 on a Saturday night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's number 2, Georgia. It's number 4, Alabama. Joe, for just the 3rd time in the regular season since 2015, these 2 teams meet up. Of course, a long series history between these 2 conference foes and many more meetings than just regular season affairs in recent memory. In fact, since 2021, they have met 3 times, as many times since 2021 in postseason play as they had throughout the regular season in the last decade. So let's get to the game on Saturday, because we might be seeing history. And in a man that knows his markets and his handicapping, this must be noted. The Crimson Tide is currently listed as a 2.5-point home underdog against the Bulldogs. It would snap a 113 consecutive home streak for Alabama, being booked as at least the favored side in all 113. The last time Alabama was a home underdog was the very first year that Nick Saban was the head coach in Tuscaloosa back in November of 2007 against LSU. Let me start with the spread, Joe. Will Alabama end as the home underdog by the time we get to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday night?
It's, Ben, I can't help but to feel that maybe this number is a little bit off. I mean, Alabama coming off the route of Wisconsin in Wisconsin. Georgia, squeaked by Kentucky, barely gets by Kentucky. I don't know if I'm putting a whole lot of stock into either of those games. To me, Wisconsin's a bad football team. And I don't think, Georgia knew this game was coming up, right? So it was a clear look ahead spot. I don't think Georgia ever thought they were really in danger of losing Kentucky here. I still think Georgia is the better team. I don't think it's close. And I do think that this number is actually a little bit light here. So to me, Georgia, I would lay it. I'd take them on the money line. I mean, Georgia has now won 28 straight SEC games, 16 in a row on the road. I'll lay the 2.5. I'll lay the 125 in this one. Georgia wins this game.
Georgia has not lost in the regular season in a very long time. I believe the win streak is now at 41. I will double check that in just a moment. Let's go back to the start of 2021 for UGA. It was their resurgence in college football, their first national championship in more than 4 decades. From the start of the 2021 season, Joe, Georgia as a favorite, 22, 23-1 against the spread. All right. Not great. They have been the favorite in virtually every single game, including against Alabama. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's often because UGA in non-conference play is not great at covering numbers. Now, in their SEC opener, 2 weekends ago in Lexington, as a 3-touchdown road favorite, they only won by a single point, which I do believe influences this line. But in SEC play, Joe, since the start of 2021, Georgia is 16-13 against the spread. If the Dogs are to win this game by even a field goal, they cover. Alabama has been an underdog only 5 times in the last decade of college football since that 2015 game against Georgia in the regular season. In 4 of those 5 times, the Crimson Tide has been booked as an underdog against these Georgia Bulldogs. The only other time, last year's Rose Bowl against Michigan in the college football playoff semifinal. Alabama in those instances is both 3-2 straight up and against the spread. Joe, Georgia has lost 2 football games. Only 2 football games since the middle part of the 2020 college football season, and each came to Alabama in the SEC title game. 3 years ago by 17 points, 41-24, but Georgia got the last laugh in the national championship, and a season ago as a 6.5-point favorite, losing by 3. I agree with you. I know this is a night game under the lights in Tuscaloosa. I know they are a road favorite against Alabama. Principle and precedent should tell you to just take the points with the Crimson Tide. But I think we often forget just how good Georgia is. And even with a 1-point road win in Lexington, I think Georgia makes a statement on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, now, granted, this is the first step of a few ridiculous challenges here for Georgia. Because when you got to go on the road to Kentucky, you got to win. The only thing that matters if you're Georgia is win and continue to move on. But when you look at, not only do they have trips here to Alabama this week, they have to go to Texas and they have to go to Ole Miss. So this is a grueling schedule for Georgia, but none of that is going to matter if they lose this game against Alabama. I like that it's early enough in the season. This will be really the first road test to Georgia. I don't bet against Kirby Smart in these games without Nick Saban. This isn't the Nick Saban era anymore, guys. It's the Kalen DeBoer era, and I have yet to see it. I'll see it when I believe it, but until then, Kirby Smart is a guy I am not looking to fade in this spot.
And listen, in the first 3 games of the Kalen DeBoer era, Alabama also had a bye during week 4. They have been really good. The Crimson Tide 2-1 against the spread. The only time they did not cover, they came back to win by nearly 30 against South Florida, but they were a 30.5-point favorite. That game, of course, was just a 1-point game in the 4th quarter. All of that to say, though, Joe, I agree with you. Coaching advantage is with Kirby Smart. Now, with that being said, even if Georgia wins this game, as they are slightly expected to, I think both of these teams, Joe, are in the college football playoff, and the odds would agree. Yeah. Georgia remains the favorite in the SEC, ever so slightly, not just in front of Alabama by $1.50, but in front of the number 1 team in the country. That is Texas. Plus 250 for the Bulldogs to win yet another conference crown. Minus 550 for UGA to reach the college football playoff. I bet Alabama's price with a profit boost right before the year got started at minus 115 up to plus 109 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. That minus 115 price, a virtual pick'em, has now become minus 350. Even if Alabama loses at home, the reaction should not be overwhelming. The Crimson Tide, in my estimation, are at least a 10-win football team this year and will be back into the college football playoff for a second consecutive season, the first, the debut year under Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and the great part about having that grueling schedule, Ben, is that even if they weren't to win this game, a win over Texas or Ole Miss down the stretch on the road, they basically have to get to Atlanta. And if they win the SEC championship game, then they're the number one seed regardless. That's what Georgia is. That's how good they are. You don't want to get in front of this. I think they beat Alabama. Texas and Ole Miss are going to be totally different animals when they get to that point. But either way, they're going to the SEC championship game. They're going to represent, and they're going to be the favorite one way or the other.
42-game regular season win streak for Georgia, by the way. That is how good they have been. Again, there are only 2 losses since the middle portion of the 2020 season. If I do the math quickly, 51 out of 51. They are 49-2 since that middle part of 2020 have come against Alabama, both in the SEC championship game. Keep an eye on Carson Beck. On Saturday night, Jalen Milroe has made history for the Crimson Tide in each of the first 3 games this year. Multiple passing touchdowns, multiple rushing touchdowns. The only quarterback in Bama history that can say that. It is going to be sensational on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. These are the kind of games that you yearn for in college football, and I bet you it delivers on Saturday night. The final 4 weeks of the Major League Baseball season starts, and we'll preview it next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get Neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The final week of the Major League Baseball season starts in full on this Tuesday. We had 4 games on Monday, a ton of the 30 clubs resting up around MLB. So we set the stage for a full Tuesday slate, and everybody starts and will be underway in their second to last series of this Major League Baseball regular season. It is always crazy to me, Joe, 162 games in a regular season, and for many teams around the bigs in terms of postseason positioning or just earning that playoff berth, it comes down to the final 6 in this final week, and that is certainly the case starting today in Atlanta. A game that has been circled, a series that has been circled for quite some time. When the Mets were starting to rally throughout the summer and the Braves were dealing with their injury concerns and starting to falter. Could this series determine a playoff spot? That might be the case. In Atlanta, the Braves will host the Mets for a 3-game set starting today. And today in the A, the Braves are a home favorite. Spencer Schwellenbach gets the start. Atlanta minus 136. Luis Severino on the other side for New York plus 116. A little bit of market movement as you see. A total of 8. How does this incredibly crucial series in the ATL begin today?
Yeah, and at plus money, the team that has been the best, I mean, going back to July 1st here, has there been anybody better than the New York Mets? The answer is no. And we talked to Craig Mish earlier, and, he said it perfectly. Can somebody please tell me which Atlanta Braves team shows up? And the answer is we have no idea. Severino, familiar with this Atlanta team, has had some success against them so far this year. I think they have split the season series to this point 5-5. This is going to be a Mets team that has proven to be able to play really well on the road. I don't see any reason to get in front of them at plus money here. I'll take what I think is the better team at plus money here, Ben.
Yeah, listen, I would agree with you, Joe, and maybe not in this game, but I do believe the Mets can win. There are 2 series odds out for the second to last sets that begin today. This one in Atlanta on FanDuel. The Braves a minus 176 favorite to win the set. The Mets are the underdog. And in New York, the Yankees will host the O's. They're greater than a $2 favorite. We'll get to that game in just a little bit. I have bet the Mets to win this series at plus 142. Winning this game with Luis Severino against Spencer Schwellenbach would go a long way. Joe, we have talked about the Braves so injured this season. They haven't been bad necessarily since the All-Star break. They're 32-29 since the All-Star break in Arlington, above 500. They have won 4 of their last 5. They just haven't been as red hot as the other teams they look up at in the National League wild card. The Padres, these Mets, and, of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are struggling a little bit here as of late. But why is New York in this prime position with a 2-game advantage over their divisional mate to earn that playoff spot? They have been lights out really since the end of May, but especially here continuing that as of late. They have won 6 of their last 7. They have won 8 of their last 11. Since August 28th, when they were 5 games above 500, they have won 18 of their last 23. Have the amazing. They have been the team to back it up. I think the Mets do that in Atlanta, winning this series and potentially winning the opener obviously goes a long way to helping with that. The Braves not even just looking up at the Mets, 2-game difference there. They're only a game and a half back now of Arizona. We'll talk about the D-backs who lost their series opener yesterday to San Francisco. But as we focus on the National League West, if you look at the FanDuel Sportsbook, you would have already thought the Dodgers have clinched this division. Not the case. It's the Southern California rivalry at the Ravine starting tonight. The Dodgers have just a 3-game lead in the National League West. San Diego has won 7 of the 10 against L.A. so far this year. They have the tiebreaker advantage regardless of the result of this series. Joe, San Diego, who has dominated L.A. and swept the most recent 2-game set between the two, if they were to sweep this series, we're tied at the top. If they take 2 of 3, there's a 1-game difference, or I guess what would be a 2-game difference between these two teams with one series remaining. The Dodgers should win the National League West for the 11th time in the last 12 years. But I don't think the odds should be off the board that there's not a realistic possibility the Padres make some hay this week in Los Angeles.
I mean, listen, you're talking about a Padres team that started the season going 50-50, Ben. Since that time, they are a 40-16. They've won 7 of 10 against the Dodgers this year, like you said. You tell me the eye test here, who's the better team? The better team is the Padres, and they have imposed their will on the Dodgers. We'll go back to the starting pitching once again to still give the edge to the Padres. I give the edge in the bullpen to the Padres, and the bats, to me, I think it's a wash, but there is no doubt who the better team has been consistently since the middle part of this season, and that has been the Padres. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Ben. Give me the Padres once again to make this thing real interesting for the Dodgers.
The underdog tonight is San Diego. Michael King has been great in the second half. It's another young arm, Landon Knack, who has also been pretty consistently good for LA, but the Dodgers just a minus 120 home money line favorite tonight. Now we go to Arizona, where yesterday the Diamondbacks were the slight home favorite against the Giants and lost the series opener against San Francisco. So now the D-backs just a game and a half up over Atlanta for what is the third and final National League wildcard spot. Brandon Pfaadt gets the start today, minus 146 against Logan Webb on the other side. How competitive is this game in downtown Phoenix tonight?
Yeah, it feels like this is going to be very playoff-esque here. Hard to go against Pfaadt at home. He's been a better pitcher at home than on the road, but I'm going to go even better. I think it's going to be a playoff game. I'm taking the under 8, Ben, with these two starting pitchers. I think it's going to be a tough one.
Total yesterday was 8, went over. San Francisco won 6-3. Matt Chapman was great at the dish for San Francisco. I would agree, Joe. I lean under in a playoff atmosphere as Arizona's going to be watching the scoreboard in Atlanta. More to come next.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Brew Crew has already clinched the National League Central. They're 2 games behind LA, that being the Dodgers, trying to maybe get the 2nd seed in the National League standings for October.
Both of these teams have a chance to score some runs against these pitching matchups, so maybe another over, even though we do have a playoff atmosphere. And yes, Milwaukee did clinch, but there's still an eye on the prize of we might be able to chase down the Dodgers and also the Phillies to get one of those buys.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Brian Dable has been feeling it. He's in a foul mood. He's having stare downs with Pat Leonard and everything else.
John Mara wants Brian Dable to go and get the next quarterback. They tried to get the next quarterback. We all watched it on Hard Knocks. They couldn't end up with Daniels. They couldn't end up with May. So they said, okay, we'll run it back a year. We'll go get neighbors, and we'll tolerate.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
This would have been a bet that I would have lost big on in terms of betting on Trevor Lawrence thus far. Because, Vinny, I thought he was an absolute rock-solid, can't-miss first overall pick.
They're underachieving a bit. I mean, I don't think this is the best adjustment team with Doug Peterson. He's not the best adjuster. If everything's kind of falling into place and everyone's executing well and he can just do what they want to do.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
It is time to play some baseball. A couple of divisional crowns on the line tonight in the American League in some divisional duels. Let's start in the Bronx between the Yankees and the O's. Joe, at the All-Star break, even in the opening half, everybody looked at this series. Second to last could determine the American League East. It is going to more than likely, as the Yankees need just one more win to claim the divisional crown, but not in the way we expected. We thought the winner of this series would win the division. The Yankees now have a 6-game lead over Baltimore. The O's a couple of games below 500 since that All-Star break. The Yankees have pulled away. Clark Schmidt gets the start tonight for the Pinstripes. They're a minus 162 home money line favorite up in the Bronx. Do the Yankees clinch the American League East tonight?
Really, what is Baltimore playing for again? I mean, they're pretty much locked in to that top wild card spot right now.
Correct.
They have Kremer is not a better pitcher than Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt is now a 1.76 ERA in 3 starts since he came back from the IL. You've got a lot of guys on this Yankees lineup here that have really good splits against Kremer. Yankees want that number 1 seed. They have said they wanted it, and it's right here for the taking with 1 win, and I think they get it rather easily here tonight. I would even lay the 1.5, Ben.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Joe. The Yankees have that 2.5-game lead over Cleveland for that number 1 overall spot. The Guardians have 7 more games left in this Major League Baseball season, by the way. Only 5 games left. I did my math incorrectly. 2 against Cincinnati starting today. Then they have Thursday off. They end the year against Houston. What exactly is the motivation going to be in that final 3-game set between the Guardians and the Astros, especially if the Yankees do handle the O's this week? Again, New York, a minus 225 favorite to win this series. Speaking of the Astros, they had a chance last night at home against Seattle with 1 more win to claim the American League West. Did not go their way. Bryce Miller was great for the M's. Seattle wins 6-1. So who do you turn to when you need a title? That's Framber Valdez. 15 starts, Joe, since the end of June for Valdez. The Astros have won 13 of 15. And one of their 2 losses was Valdez's last start that he gave up a single earned run against the red-hot San Diego Padres, who blanked Houston on the other side. I just bet the minus 134 price on the Stros and Valdez to win this game and claim the American League West. Am I crazy for doing so, or do you think that happens tonight?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, it's there are some guys that you want to put your money behind, Ben, in these kinds of spots, and Framber Valdez absolutely is one of them here. Gilbert's been great for them, for Seattle, but that is a very big ask, one in which I would not be comfortable. 5-3, I think, in 11 career starts against the Astros, 1-1 so far. He pitched against them twice in May. I don't know, call me crazy here, but this is exactly the kind of spot you want Houston to be able to get the job done and advance. And Seattle, sorry, I know what Seattle team's showing up tonight, Ben. It's not a lot of runs.
And listen, the Astros have that 4-game advantage. Seattle kind of out of it from the American League West perspective, but now only a game and a half out of the American League wildcard chase, so that becomes our focus. We start with the only day baseball game today. That's in Detroit. The Tigers trying to take care of business against the Rays. Tarek Skubal gets the start for the Tigers. They are nearly a $2 favorite at home. It's minus 188. Do the Tigers continue their winning ways?
No, well, they better, right? What choice do they have? You got the right guy on the mound in the right spot here. That's the way to going. I know they called up, the kid too, Jackson Jobe, we heard too. So, I mean, call me crazy. This is a team and a train I don't want to get in front of, and Tampa can't hit, and they're not going to hit this pitching staff either.
No, do not believe so. Total 6.5. The Tigers have won 6 of their last 7. The Royals have dropped 7 straight. They're in Washington tonight.
Oof.
The Twins on a mighty slide, but they host the Marlins. Will both of these teams, booked as a favorite in both spots, Joe, as we look at Minnesota as well, get a win on this Tuesday?
Yeah, I think favorites are the way to go here in the opening games of the series here. I'm going to back the Royals. I'm going to back the Twins to get it done here and breathe a little sigh of relief.
Minus 166 for KC on the road, albeit in the nation's capital. The Twins at home, minus 245 against the Fish. He's Joe Ranieri. I'm Ben Stevens. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time on SportsGrid.